One sentence. No name mentioned. No promise made. And yet, at the exact same moment, something happened. Across different time zones, different screens, different lives, millions of people paused, not because they were told to, but because they felt it.
A subtle tightening in the chest.
A quiet intake of breath. That unmistakable sensation of recognition before understanding catches up. Nothing dramatic had occurred. No announcement. No reveal. Just a sentence, spoken calmly, evenly, and then silence. It began the way so many moments do. Ordinary, unremarkable, almost forgettable. A routine promotional interview. A neutral studio. Soft lighting. A familiar face, composed and relaxed. The questions were safe, comfortable. Talk of craft, of preparation, of accents and dialects, the technical language of acting, stripped of emotion. The kind of conversation that exists to fill time, not change it. Fans listening were at ease. This was background listening, something to enjoy quietly while scrolling, while commuting, while passing another day. He laughed lightly when old jokes resurfaced, explained patiently that learning dialects was never a personal ambition, only a professional necessity, something you do when a role requires it. Nothing more. The atmosphere was steady, predictable. Nothing suggested that this moment would linger. And then, without ceremony, it shifted. There was a pause. Not long. Not deliberate enough to feel staged. Just a slight hesitation, the kind that only becomes meaningful in hindsight. And in that pause, he said it. That he comes from a certain hometown. That even now, he's still waiting for a role that allows him to use his native accent. That he hopes, one day, to speak it on screen. The sentence ended. No emphasis followed. No clarification. No explanation. The conversation moved on. But something had already changed. Because for those who heard it, truly heard it, that hometown was not simply a place on a map. It was a shared origin, a point of convergence, a word layered with memory, history, and meaning that could not be explained without years of context. And so the reaction didn't arrive as noise. It arrived as stillness. Timelines froze before they filled. People replayed the clip not to analyze it, but to sit inside it. Not asking what did he say, but why did that feel so heavy? Screenshots appeared slowly. Captions were short. Words were chosen carefully. This wasn't excitement. It was recognition. Because long before this interview, long before this sentence, there was a time when two people stood together at the center of something that reshaped how fandom itself functioned. It wasn't just a successful project. It wasn't just chemistry. It was an emotional language, built on restraint, loyalty, and quiet gravity. A connection that never needed explanation because it was felt instinctively by those watching. For many, it wasn't about fantasy. It was about resonance. And then, just as quietly as it began, it stopped. No shared appearances. No public interactions. No overlap that could be acknowledged. Years passed. Fans adapted. They learned how to read absence the way others read presence. How to find meaning in what wasn't said. How to notice when names were avoided, when topics shifted, when pauses lingered a beat too long. Silence became its own language. So when he said he was still waiting, it didn't land as coincidence. It landed as time, as patience, as something unresolved, but not unfinished. The online response reflected that understanding. There was no frenzy, no demands, no claims. Instead, people gathered. Old scenes resurfaced, not edited dramatically, but preserved tenderly, like photographs pulled from a drawer you rarely open. Moments remembered not because they promised something more, but because they once meant something deeply real. Fan art appeared overnight, themed not around reunion, but around return, around shared roots, around home, around two paths that once ran close enough to feel inevitable. One comment traveled faster than the rest, not because it was loud, but because it was true. He didn't say a name, but we all heard it. Another followed. It wasn't confirmation. It wasn't a promise. But emotionally, it was enough. What made the moment heavier wasn't just what was said. but who said it? Because he is known for precision, for restraint, for choosing words carefully and using them sparingly. Later in the interview, when the topic shifted to character and personality, he admitted something fans already understood instinctively: that he isn't talkative in real life, that he prefers clarity, that he speaks only when something matters. That admission reframed everything. If he speaks only when it matters, then this mattered. And yet, there was no follow-up, no official clarification, no agency statement, no attempt to control the narrative. And somehow, that absence made the moment more honest. This wasn't news. It wasn't being treated as news. It was being treated as emotion. Fandom spaces grew quiet, not because interest faded, but because people were processing something deeply personal together. Servers slowed under the weight of memory rather than traffic. Messages weren't fast, they were thoughtful. Tears weren't shed over what might happen next. They were shed over what once was and what never entirely disappeared. Because the truth of this moment wasn't factual. It was emotional. Nothing moved forward. Nothing moved backward. He simply stood still. And in that stillness, people felt something shift. What makes this moment so fragile is precisely what makes it real. There is no reunion announced, no drama unfolding, no public acknowledgement from the other side. And yet, something now exists. A reminder that stories don't always end when they stop being visible. That some chapters don't close, they wait quietly, influencing everything that comes after. He spoke about an accent, but people heard history. They heard shared beginnings. They heard echoes of a bond that once reshaped how connection could be portrayed. Not loudly, but honestly. Is this the beginning of something new? Or simply the echo of something that never fully faded? No one knows. And perhaps no one needs to. Because in an industry built on distance, control, and carefully measured silence, moments like this feel rare precisely because they are unscripted in their impact. They don't announce themselves. They don't demand interpretation. They don't confirm anything. They simply happen
and leave people changed.
Tonight, across the world, fans are still awake, scrolling slowly, rewatching quietly, sitting with emotions they didn't expect to feel again. Not because they were promised anything, but because they were reminded of something deeply human, that some connections once formed do not vanish. They don't need to be named. They don't ask for validation. They simply wait. So, maybe this isn't a story about reunion. Maybe it's a story about memory, about how one carefully chosen sentence can reopen a door people believed was sealed forever. About how silence doesn't erase meaning, it preserves it. About how hope doesn't need confirmation to exist. He didn't say a name. He didn't need to. Because tonight, people didn't hear speculation. They heard sincerity. And sometimes, sincerity is more powerful than any announcement could ever be. If this moment stirred something in you, don't rush to explain it. Don't demand answers. Just sit with it. Because in a world that moves too fast and forgets too easily, remembering together, quietly, gently, can be an act of resistance. Not every story needs an ending. Some simply remind us why we cared in the first place.